Good day to you, I am LionHeartBlue and welcome to a quick video about Scrap Mechanic. As you may well have seen, DevBlog 21 has just been released. Now what does that mean? It's another lot of information regarding the next chapter that's coming out. In DevBlog 21 they're introducing this new little bot. So I guess it kind of resembles, I guess, like some sort of spider or beetle or something. We scroll down. So as you can see here from this picture, you see like it looks like this mining vehicle here with a beacon on it. I don't know what this is here. And then you've got some mechanics. What looks like one of those warehouse lights or special light. And in the background you see lots of those these little bots. They're called cable bots. So it says, what does it say? It says, watch out, there are more bots incoming in the next chapter. While travelling deep underground, you might encounter the cable bots. They travel in big numbers and love digging holes with their cable clippers. No one knows why the cable bots are that deep in the first place yet. Perhaps you will find the answer to this mystery in a future update. Until then, you'd best prep some chests with potatoes and dust off that spud gun. You're going to need it. So that looks quite interesting. It's quite different concept really for bots. I imagine that they're only going to take one hit to kill, probably easy to kill, but there'll be so many of them. And I imagine that damage on their own will be minor. That will be their danger, essentially. It's much in the way like piranhas and other predators like that work. It's quite cool. This was teased earlier a few days ago on Twitter, but all we got to see was this. Here we're trying to work out what it was, whether it was a tool or something, but actually it's a new bot. That's quite interesting. That's quite cool. So it looks like they will appear underground. And then this bit is quite exciting. The quests are coming. So progress on the new quest system for the next chapter is moving along. The quests in the chapter will guide you through the story while letting you continue playing at your own pace. We'll also be adding a dialogue system to the game, letting NPCs talk to you. We love how it feels and where it's heading. Here's an image of the player taking an incoming call. So I presume that this is going to be something you have to craft, or maybe when you start a quest they give you some sort of telephone. You don't see him holding one there, but he's getting an incoming call from the trader anyway. So the quest system's that's going to be quite exciting. It's going to add another element to the game. We know that essentially it's the trader's probably going to ask for certain things, and so like he might suggest, or he might ask for, I don't know, let's say 20 crates of blueberries to give you something in return. In one of Woody's videos, which I'll link to here, he talks about the quest system that he found in the code a while back, and it was quite sort of not basic, but it was showing like, you know, you take some materials there and you just get other materials back, but it's materials that you couldn't get from the trader at this point. So this quest system will be quite interesting to see how that develops and what kind of quests they're going to introduce. And now this kind of looks like a clock. Well, it is a clock, which is, I imagine, if we scroll down now, we're going to find out why they took the clock away in the top left. So digital clock. We have started work on a new interactive part. So the next chapter will introduce a clock, so mechanics can check the time anytime, whether they're driving or at the base. But that's not the best part about it. The clock will also allow the mechanic to set a specific time for it to interact with the trigger. Thanks to it, you should be able to set a time for your base defences to turn on or off, so you can keep those uninvited nighttime visitors away. And that's great. So it looks like now the clock is a craftable item. So previously in earlier versions of the game, you'd have the time would be displayed in the top left. This, in the last update, they removed that. And everyone's questioning why remove it. You know, we used to be able to see the time. Well, obviously that was never an intended addition. So now we have to craft an item in order to see the time, which makes sense. You know, why would you be able to see the time without crafting something. But the fact that it's got some sort of alarm on it is also very good. I can see already many creators or creative mechanics will have some incredible ideas, I imagine, for different uses for timers, not just for base, but combined with other logic, etc. I'm sure there's lots of interesting things you can do. For example, like turning your lights on at your base at a certain time and turning them off again in the morning, things like that. Because there's no day or night sensors at the moment, but using the time like this, that would be really interesting. And then there's a few shots without sort of any explanation, but I think what they're alluding to here, which we'll find out, is probably this is a creative map, and they're showing that that's the fence that's in creative. So they're showing the addition of the water in creative. There we go. So in the creative mode update that's just around the corner, we'll be updating the terrain to include the same props as the world of a survival mode. You will now be able to cut down trees and test out new ideas for lumber or rock drilling based creations. So it's not just water they're adding, so it's the rock and the trees that you'll be able to mine. That's good. So we also added water to some of the tiles, as well as water border around the creative terrain world, so you can go on boat races with your friends. Awesome. We also updated the flat world ground texture, since the old one was a bit out of date against the game's new visuals. We have also slightly increased the map size of both of the terrain as well as flat world. You will have to create a new world to get the updated terrain, however. Well, that's fine. The new props and water will not show up in old worlds. That's quite interesting. One thing they say here, in the creative mode update that's just around the corner. So that's not, they haven't used that terminology with any of the survival changes. So there are more bots incoming in the next chapter, but they don't say that's just around the corner. So there's obviously still a lot of work going on in this. And even here, like for the next chapter, it's moving along. So I think we're still some way away from chapter 2, unfortunately. That's how I read that. But the updates to the creative world, I think, are coming a lot sooner. And this final one, this is quite interesting. So this is the title screen, if you haven't seen this before, and somehow there's this duck in the title screen, which is interesting. So now, decorate the main menu. So some mechanics might have been wondering about the odd background platform that is sitting in the middle of the main menu. We're finally putting it to its intended original use. Mechanics will now be able to enter the world so they can build and decorate their main menu, simply by clicking the blue pen icon at the bottom. Let's make some pixel art. So that icon there, well, this is really good for creators, the YouTube creators, because they can obviously have their logo here, which adds an interesting element anyway. It will take away the need for intros for scrap mechanic videos, maybe. Well, we'll see what people do with that. I know that's probably how I'll use it. Bit of my my music and my logo in there will be quite interesting, I think, but we'll see. And then carrying on from the creative side, so these are capsules that they teased on Twitter a while ago. You can have in creative to spawn bots in the creative world, so it looks like you can paint them up as well. I don't know if you can set them against each other, but it looks like they're doing some sort of test here. Enemy capsules. We've only given you sneak peeks at the enemy capsules for creative mode on our Twitter, so here's another good look at them in action. Use them to test your new traps and defenses against bots before your next survival mode session. But that's not all. We're also working on adding another feature to the enemy capsules, paint jobs. Now you can paint bots in different colours, so they turn on each other instead. That's interesting. For example, if you spawn 2 tape bots and paint one yellow and the other pink, they'll duke it out instead of coming after you. Lastly, woks and glow bugs will also get a capsule. The capsule will come with a new creative mode update. Fine, so yeah, so it's not just bots, it's woks and glow bugs. So I guess that allows you to do a lot more testing of survival ideas, because you can make machines or feeding things for glow bugs, feeding machines for woks. You can also make vehicles that are powered by woks and glow bugs, but that takes a lot of effort in survival to test out, so it'd be good to play around with him in creative and see what you can come up with. So that's really handy and really good. And this last one, no idea what this is. Looks like some sort of component kit. It's got a picture of a lift on it. Interactive tutorial part. Calling all new mechanics. Learning how to build a vehicle the first time you start the game can be a bit hard, especially when you've got nothing but the handbook. The new tutorial block is here to help you flatten that learning curve. Now you can get step-by-step instructions on how to build a basic vehicle and grasp the game's building fundamentals simply by placing it on a lift. We're still not sure if this one will come out before or with the next chapter. That's all for now. We will have some truly cool stuff in the works that we'll show you in DevBlog 22. So please keep an eye out for it. It's something we know a lot of you mechanics will love. Well, that's interesting. So they're already saying there's going to be another DevBlog, and we know that the previous DevBlog came out in December, so it's taken a couple of months for this DevBlog to come out. So I imagine DevBlog 22 will come out in another couple of months. So what are we talking, April, something like that, end of April at the earliest, I imagine. So I'll be interested to see what's in that. There's some good extra little features in here, so that's interesting. This thing though, I mean, obviously it's useless for any of us who have played the game before or have got some knowledge, but I can see for new starters this might be quite useful. It's funny, in my Scrap Chat series, I was talking to Germanite recently, and if you haven't seen that, I'll link to it in the description. And he mentioned how he started to do a tutorial in survival on how to build your first vehicle, because he thought new players of the game wouldn't necessarily know off the bat how to create that vehicle, particularly with the parts you get early on in game are pretty poor. So he's essentially kind of done this himself in his own way, which is quite interesting to see that they've now introduced this. So I don't know if this is something they had planned or whether it's something that came out of research or what people have asked for. But yeah, it's interesting. Thank you very much for listening. I'll be interested to know what you think about this DevBlog 21, so leave a message in the comments and let me know. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.